John Wilcock. We're in South America in the fall of 2010. I'm taking a cruise down the west coast of South America. Some people are going a long way down. I got on board in San Diego and I'm getting off in Peru. That's 15 days altogether. Some days, some people are taking 30, but even 15 days on a cruise is quite long enough. You eat too much and lie around a bit too much, although I do get to swim most days in the pool. And today I'm taking a tour. We docked in a port of Nicaragua this morning called Corinto, and in about an hour I'm taking a tour to the old colonial town of Leon. I don't know what that'll be like, but apparently it's very hot today, so there won't be too much. I think it's about an hour or so to get there in the bus and an hour back, and shortly after that we leave, and so there won't be time to see much except Leon, which I'm not expecting a great deal from, to tell you the truth. Tours vary a lot. They're relatively expensive, and sometimes the guides are very good and sometimes they're indifferent. It's a chance to see kind of street life to some extent. You can never buy a newspaper. I guess they think that the tourists don't buy newspapers, or maybe cruise passengers. I mean, you can't even buy a local paper usually, never mind say anything in English. Anyway, what you see next will be somewhere in Nicaragua.
And developing. We are one country of Central America in this life since the New World. What day they went to Guatemala, the Spaniard came to Nicaragua. They are working not in the old. Actually, we get just the finish. I'm gonna test you. Of the construction was in the 1563. There was one person from Spain that the name was Pedro de Ahumada. He brought the image that we are going to see. The image, right? That is very old, yes. And also for snakes. The kind of snake that you can see inside the sugarcane is corals, rattles, and boas, right? So, and also sometimes iguanas and rabbits, with a population of 5 million people inhabitants. That's
like Guatemala, Nicaragua has a lot of volcanoes, and the buses stopped just to show a couple of them lined up in a row ahead.
14 hours back and forth. President Clinton, he came to visit Nicaragua that day, and it was 23rd. We are located as blood, and the other 30 is Spanish. I never, when I was sleeping, because always I had in my mind to come back for good. So if you can do and graduate in the high school and the college.
I swapped tours from the colonial Leon one because I thought this probably would have more visual things to videotape. The highlight of the tour is actually this church, which originally was built 17th century, destroyed in a volcano and rebuilt in the 19th century. It's apparently very famous in Nicaragua for reasons I suppose we will be told. Nicaragua is a very religious country, almost 3/4 of it Catholic. Well, one of the things is all the expensive mahogany wood that went into the ceiling. The church or basilica or whatever it is, right opposite the public park, the main plaza, with the market, or the market street sort of more or less at one end of it. Actually it's quite a delicious smell of the cooking, whatever it is over there, sending up lots of smoke. The little town that we're in is called Chinandega. It's about half an hour from the port, and I guess it's pretty tough to make a living when you're on the main street with 30 or 40 other stalls and all more or less selling the same things, which is mostly fruit. They grow sugar around here. In fact, they even have a distillery or whatever that makes rum. But what it's famous for, apart from the peanuts and cotton that's grown, what it's famous for are all the volcanoes. There are dozens of volcanoes around, and the church that we saw a few minutes ago literally was destroyed by one back in the 19th century and then rebuilt. Obviously it's poor town, a lot of kids begging but not aggressive, and it's one of two stops. We're going to see another church soon. Party accounts of the masks and costumes. Spanish ran the country or owned the country. Because the old guy tries to dance with one of the lady visitors and the other swirling lady gets jealous and knocks him down.
Thank you for your participation. So let's clap the group, okay? Okay, if you're gonna give them a little contribution, they are waiting for you. And don't forget the time of my group. 15 after 3, okay? And enjoy your free time. Thank you, everybody.
We got about 20 minutes now. The performance is over, but there really isn't anywhere much to go. There's this pseudo castle here, part of some kind of a park or entertainment ground. Holding up a mirror for her. You can get a beer here or buy a bottle of rum or a little souvenir maybe. I got the only seat there is.
They leave Nicaragua. We are leaving Nicaragua, but take care about Sandino. And then one day Samosa, he invites Sandino to write it down, the peaceful, right? And after the meeting, he's sending somebody to kill him. The river, the name is Saint John River.
Has a
Rio San Juan.
Freshwater shark in this lake, supposedly.
And there was one crocodile that is 3 meters, very big.
There are miles of trucks lined up, probably waiting to get stuff in the port or from the port. I mean, literally miles of them. I would say we've passed getting on for 100 of them already. Must be a very frustrating business being a truck driver in Nicaragua. I'm having a beer just at the last stop, $1.50 beer before we got back on the bus for the final ride back. I got talking to a bearded guy who I think partly owned the little store where we were, the open air stand really, and he was, as you might expect, not as antagonistic towards Ortega, who is Nicaragua's president, chief, whatever. Of course, Ortega has been colored in the States as being very left-wing, socialist, virtually communist, sort of Chavez type, labeled as an evil South American left-wing dictator. Some of which, of course, may be true, but I was interested in what Enrique, the guide, told people was a bit of the history of Nicaragua, which is how Samosa and his family ran the country for 40 years as a dictator, and a vicious dictator at that, murdering people and assassinating people and keeping the poor in the place. Samosa was eventually assassinated in somewhere in like Paraguay or something like that when he left Nicaragua, and the Sandinistas took over. Sandinista, named after an early liberator from way back, and so everything that happened after that was basically trying to recover from the Samosa years, but of course is labeled by America as being an unpleasant, unallowed left-wing communist dictatorship. But of course you have to compare it with the one that came before it, which Americans choose not to do most of the time.